Okay, here we are now at Sandown Park, and I had the pleasure yesterday to meet Charlotte Palmer, and she tells me she was a food specialist and she was working on the sea green stand, which is all about seaweed, and I'm going to ask her a few questions about that. But most of all, she said she could talk for England, so I thought this is the ideal person to interview. So Charlotte, welcome. It's absolutely brilliant that you agreed to come and have a little chat with me.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Is this your first radio or television appearance?
No, it's not actually.
No, so you're an old hand, are you?
A little bit. I've done a couple of interviews for radio before.
Oh, right. Okay. So this hopefully this is obviously going out to the world via the internet.
Fabulous.
And we're going to keep it so it can be recycled occasionally.
Great.
And of course, once we put something on the internet, we're there for life, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah.
So tell me about your story.
Okay.
How did you kind of start?
Oh goodness.
Thinking about it.
My story is that I was originally in the art and fashion world.
Right.
And I was a bit of a workaholic, and I basically ended up with adrenal fatigue.
Right.
Just exhaustion. I run myself.
Do you know,
into
so
ground.
many people become therapists because they get in a bad place themselves,
That's
don't
right,
they?
yeah.
Or people start to think about food because they become ill.
That's right. And I also, prior to that, I had terrible skin problems as a teenager, which destroyed my confidence, my self-confidence. And I lost faith in the medical profession after a certain period of time, after I'd been given numerous amounts of antibiotics. And I think I reached a point where I felt that I needed to start taking control of my own life.
Well
looking
done.
at my health
Yes.
and looking at my diet, and I started to read a lot about the environment and about organic farming and about food and about diet. And I was able to really help myself and my skin a lot and my energy levels through my choices that I made with my diet. So, yeah.
Of course, you know what, your energy system is your mitochondria.
That's right.
So you've got to feed your mitochondria, and they're beautiful little things, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
So how long was it before you thought, it's my mitochondria I'm feeding?
I don't know at what point I recognised that, but I think the mitochondria is the energy system, but it doesn't. The thing about the body is we refer to the body as different organs in the body.
Yeah.
But the different organs in the body don't recognise themselves as being separate and unique. It's an entire system.
Which is completely unlike the medical profession, who treat each piece as individual.
Exactly.
Don't they?
Yeah. So the body works as a whole, you know. And yes, okay, it's always good to start off with the gut.
Yep.
And work.
It's what feeds everything.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always good to start with the gut.
So yours would have been compromised by all those antibiotics.
Exactly, that's right.
So did you start to think, how can I rebuild my
I
good
started to
bacteria?
explore gut health, you know, and on my journey of exploring gut health, I discovered sea greens. Because it's a prebiotic, it means it feeds the friendly bacteria in the gut. I recognised that my gut flora is out of balance, so I worked on repopulating my gut with probiotics, but I recognised that it was more than just putting the probiotics back in. You know, I felt like I needed to kind of really repair my gut because it was damaged in some way from all the antibiotics I've been taking as a child.
Yeah. And of course, when we're born, we're in a sterile environment as we're being made, and our gut is populated as you're born through the birth canal.
Well, it is if your mother's.
To some extent.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important, you know, if you're going to be a mother, you need to look after your gut.
That's
because
right.
That's one of the reasons we're getting worse and worse health is because gradually we're having more and more antibiotics and
That's
problems.
right, yes, and the mother does pass her friendly bacteria onto the child in the birth canal.
So you worked on your bacteria and started to feel better.
That's right, yeah. And I found out a lot about that. I picked up on seaweed, feeding the gut flora, but I was also very interested in essential fatty acids as well, feeding the villi, repairing the microvilli, and taking out things like wheat and sugar and damaged oils. And on my journey, I started to find out about all the mythology around food and eating. Okay, which I'm sure you know about, Durwin. But I realised that all this mythology about low fat and cooking vegetable oils and eating margarines is incredibly detrimental to health.
Oh.
And I'm so pleased that I found out early and I was able to change that in my diet, you know?
Yes.
Because I know that you sell these lovely, you grow and sell beautiful linseeds, essential fatty acids, but we do need a balance. We need the other fats as well, because they're cofactors. And they help each
I think
other.
I've said to a number of my interviewees or people I have a conversation with, women are terrible about that. You mentioned fat and they throw out their hands and think, oh, I can't have any of that. But in fact, it's really important for them, isn't it?
I eat plenty of good quality fat. I love my butter and I love my cream, full fat, dairy, raw and unpasteurised. So,
right, and sometimes they want to stop these things, don't they?
I know they're trying to ban it, yeah, but the people that are making decisions tend to be the people that don't have the knowledge.
What can we do about that, do you think?
Just keep campaigning.
Keep campaigning.
Signing petitions, writing letters to the MPs.
But maybe it's just changing everybody we talk to. I'm giving out, you're giving out, and that's where we've got to start. It's people that can take control, isn't it? And once they have the knowledge, if we can give them knowledge and create that golden key for them.
Exactly. That's
have you
what
been
I do.
thinking about that?
I'm a public speaker. I go and speak to groups of people and I educate people, and then they have the freedom to choose. But right now, people don't have freedom because they don't know what they're choosing. So therefore, is it a choice?
It's not, is it?
No, it's not, is it? They're being told to eat lots of cereals of low-fat pasteurised milk for breakfast and eat bread full of sugar using margarine and just eating huge amounts of sugar and damaged oils.
Of course, it's really very difficult to make those big corporations change unless you hit their pockets, isn't it?
Well, exactly. It's not about... I recognise that you can't take on the big corporations, but you can educate the public, and once the public know, then they would vote with their purses, with their wallets.
If they stopped buying spreads and margarines for 2 weeks...
the industry would go bankrupt. There's already a shift because the great margarine hoax has been uncovered and people are now shifting towards butter.
I was talking to a Waitrose buyer the other day and I said, have you got any stores where, because Waitrose I would thought the more intelligent people possibly shop there.
Well,
can I say that?
You can say that.
And he said he does have 2 stores that have more butter, and I said, would you like to do something for the health of our nation and stop selling margarine? He declined that offer at the moment. But
well, he would, wouldn't he? But I go and work at the John Lewis Food Hall in Oxford Street, which is a Waitrose supermarket, doing a demo for Koyo, which is a coconut yogurt company. And the amount of people I have to consistently educate over and over and over again about the healthy fats in coconuts, because they all think it's going to give you a heart attack, it's going to make you fat, and it's bad for your cholesterol. Every single one of them. You can consistently, well, I say every single one, you get the occasional person who's informed. Sometimes it's
great when that happens,
science grad. And sometimes we get into big, wonderful debates around the table, But there's an awful lot of people that simply trust their Harley Street doctor or their heart surgeon who's told them not to touch avocados, coconut oil or butter.
It's quackery, isn't it?
It is total quackery, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's phenomenal because I'm out
there.
The
boot is becoming on the other foot.
Yeah. I had one gentleman say to me, are you telling me that I pay my Harley Street heart specialist £100 an hour and he doesn't know what he's talking about? And I said, I'm not telling you that, I'm just inviting you to look at the evidence and think for yourself rather than just pay your Harley Street specialist £100 an hour and believe what he says, But he was very confronted and he didn't really want to take it on. So I gave him an article by Dr. Dwight Lundell, who's a heart surgeon who's recently retired, all about how the whole saturated fat and cholesterol hypothesis is untrue.
I was reading a little article about the other day, and of course apparently the Seventh-day Adventists and the Mormons, and I forget which way round it was, but one's vegetarian, don't eat any meat, and the others eat meat, and of course those that eat meat, they don't have the heart problems.
Right. Okay.
So that when they've done all these comparisons about saturated fats and so on, often it has been comparisons, but when you look at 2 groups like that, it becomes plain.
It does. It is all about context. As long as your meat is grass-fed, You know, the problem is that people are eating, too many people in this country particularly are eating meat that's been fed grains and corn and soy, and the animals weren't designed to eat grains. And,
no, and of course that could also be the same with organic farmers in some way. They could feed their animals organic soya, not really realising that was still the wrong food for them to have.
Yeah, absolutely. They feed their animals whatever is most economical for them. That's the problem, and they're not thinking about the bigger picture. The bigger picture.
So, you how did you become? How did you get to be able to be public speaking? How did you get that started?
Well, I was working at Whole Foods, and when it was Fresh and Wild, and I was their food specialist. I was educating the public on a one-to-one basis.
Right.
That was my job, to educate the customers that came through the door. That were asking, "What's quinoa? How do you cook it?" Or "What can I do with seaweed?" Or anything. And I wanted to kind of grow and stretch myself a little bit beyond my comfort zones. And I decided to start getting little workshops together in the store and get groups of people to come, and I just talk to them about a detox or weight loss or aphrodisiacs, whatever, whatever was the subject at the time.
They were full up, I guess, weren't
they? Yeah. And I was quite nervous at first and used to feel quite sick before I went over and gave the talks, but it just got me really exercised around it. I got really... I worked my public speaking muscle, got it really bulging. Brilliant. And then I went and did a teacher training course. Right. And I trained as an art teacher as well. And I can tell you that's the best training, really, because if you're in a room with 30 children and you're nervous, they'll sniff it and they'll eat you alive.
Can they smell it?
Yes, they can smell fear, for sure. They can, yes. And you have to go in really confident, and you have to project your voice, and that's the best training, teacher training.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I started to just go out there and ask people if they'd like a talk about healthy eating. And I started off just speaking at cancer care centres, cancer care support centres, weight loss centres, diabetic support centres, at schools, things like that.
Yes, I've done sort of women's institutes.
Yes, isn't that fun?
They are amazing. I think I've sort of about 10 years probably, and over the course of time I think I've met about 25 land girls. So I'll start my talks saying, are there any doctors or nurses, or are you all too young to be land girls? And if you've got one or two, it really starts off the conversation. And the Women's Institute have been really great on trying to support farmers, dairy farmers and things.
Yes, I've heard they're great. I've never spoken at Women's Institute, but I'd love to, actually. It's a bit of an aspiration.
They make you audition. Okay. And I remember my audition, there was about 200 women with pieces of paper.
Wonderful.
And they grade you.
Wow.
They're all sitting there making marks down.
And what grade did you get?
Well, I got on the speaking circuit of Sussex anyway.
Great.
So that was
well
fun.
Done.
So have a go at the Women's Institute. Really, really worthwhile doing. So do you want to carry on with the fat bit, or
I can carry on with the fat bit.
I
don't mind. I can carry on with the fat bit. I mean, I'll just in short, we've been told for a long time that a low-fat diet. Yes, a low-fat diet is what we need to do for our health and for weight loss. But actually, it's the opposite. Okay, and I just want to say a couple of things about that. When you take fat out of a dairy product, you're left with lactose, which is a milk sugar. And it is the lactose that's left in the dairy product which causes the weight gain, not the fat that you've taken out of it. So you're drinking more sugar when you take fat out of dairy. On top of that, it's not a whole and complete food anymore. So it's not natural. The body doesn't recognise it as a whole and complete food, and it's missing things, nutrients like calcium, etc. So, an important fat. So what happens is you drink it or you ingest it, and your body, a hormone called leptin, which regulates how much you've had to eat, will switch off. So you end up being more hungry. And it also, because it's more sugar in a low-fat dairy product, it will raise your blood sugar levels much higher, and then you'll have a spike because your insulin, your pancreas has to produce more insulin, and then you'll have a crash later on in the day. So all of those factors encourage people that are on low-fat diets, especially for breakfast in the morning, end up eating more sugar and carbohydrates later on in the day.
That leptin is a great thing, isn't it?
Yes.
I tell people about that. It's if you crash in
Yes.
an aeroplane in the Andes
Yes.
and some are still alive, some are dead. All the ones that are alive, when their body has too much leptin, that removes their moral scruples,
Really?
and they eat their fellow passengers.
Wow.
So, aren't we amazing? We're run by emotions and hormones.
Yes, we are,
Aren't we?
pretty much,
So
yeah.
we can't really be scientifically analysed, can't we? Anytime you hear the words science-based medicine, I think you kind of think that's quackery.
Well, I don't know enough about it, but yeah, there's a lot of quackery in a lot of things, actually.
I was at a conference setting up the Integrated Oncology Society that Yes to Life organised, and there was a professor there, and that's what he said. So I think I can repeat
Fabulous.
that.
Great, I think you can, yes.
Anyway, so great. It's great to hear about that. What's the point of drinking white water? That's what skim milk is, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it's sugar water.
Sugar water.
Yeah.
It's even worse than.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, what's the next bit?
Eat full fat foods, eat whole foods, eat foods that are as close to nature as possible.
My little thought on that was use your modern day spear to eat like Paleolithic man. And what's your modern day spear? Your credit card. So you use your credit card to buy food as similar as you can.
That's right, yeah. I don't use my credit card, but I use my debit
so
card.
what is it? I mean, what is it you can say as a woman when I get confronted by, when I say to them, "Oh, you fat worries you to death." What can you say to women to get?
Are so worried about fat, and it's really crazy because what I say to women, because I promote a very high fat product, I say to them, okay, fat is incredibly important for every part of your body. Your hormones are dependent upon it. Your brain loves it. Your fat-soluble vitamins, your essential fatty acids are cofactors. That they need the presence of a saturated fat in order to be absorbed properly. Fat doesn't make you fat. That is mythology. And I explain it to them, and I say there's no science behind this. This is mythology. This is something that was kind of made up in the 1950s for political reasons and for political gain. And if it's not true, there's no science behind it. And I tend to manage to persuade by that point, but if they need any more further convincing, I just give them a few articles on studies that they've done on children and how they were all fed a skimmed milk diet and they all gained weight and ate more sweets.
Yeah, it's all out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
We've just got to make it accessible for people to understand. So we've dealt with milk, and the other things obviously are the margarines and spreads.
Absolutely.
So none of those have any value at all.
Absolutely not. No, they're totally worthless nutritionally. Not only are they worthless, they're very harmful to health.
Yeah.
As they're inflammatory.
I know when you buy a loaf of bread, you put it in a paper bag, and you'll see there's all oil on it, fat on it. So I think what I've heard is that a lot of all these modern bread machines, factory machines, they have to put oil in so they can pump it up with compressed air and they don't leave it to rise naturally. So there are things you're getting oil and the wrong side of fats in that you don't really realise.
For sure. They use a lot of trans fats in modern processed breads to extend the shelf life.
But we've been told they've got a lot of trans fats out, haven't they? But there's never a label on bread to tell you what's in it, is there?
Well, I mean, if you're buying a commercial bread, commercial wholemeal bread, then there'll be an ingredients list. And if it says vegetable oils are very, very, very sensitive to heat, light and oxygen. They should never be heated. No. They should always be cold pressed. So if there's a vegetable fat in your bread, unless it's a coconut or a palm fat, it's going to be a trans fat. It's as simple as that, because it shouldn't be heated. Yes,
I tell people about coconut oil, but I say, the palm oil, and that's what fish and chips are cooked in, so might boycott fish and chip stops until they cook in saturated fat. What do you think about that? Is that a good plan?
I think that's a great plan, yeah.
But with the palm oil, not only are you killing rainforests, but you're killing orangutans.
I know.
So if we want to save rainforests and save the world,
we shouldn't be eating palm oil.
And no soya oil either. Do we need more soya oil?
No,
we don't.
That's really not very nice. Not very nice.
No. So, do you think we've done that? Do you think women now are going to start thinking for themselves? I mean, I know men can't think for themselves because the men come along by my stall and I say, Well, I just start to talk to them about this, and I say, "Oh, my wife deals with all that."
Yes, men often do that.
So they're hopeless.
Unless they're a GP, and then they know it all.
Well, that's even
Bless
worse.
them. Yeah.
Okay, so that went along, and then I met you at the seaweed stand or sea green stand. How did that happen?
How did me working with sea greens?
Yes.
Well, when I was at Whole Foods, I developed relationships with a lot of different companies, and I wanted to just work with some companies that I really loved, and I really loved their products.
Because you need to have seaweed, don't you? If we had seaweed once a week, we'd be much better, wouldn't we?
We would, yeah. Well,
so they've developed a way of helping us to get some seaweed every week.
Well, it might seem a bit strange to some people, but it's very nutrient dense. Sea vegetables have a lot of micronutrients in them that are missing in land vegetables. And they're very rich in iodine as well. And having a little bit of seaweed in your diet every day wouldn't,
And of course, it used to be part of ancient peoples and sort of island people's life in a big way, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It was a big part of ancient people's diets, and we're not getting enough of it in our diet right now.
They used to travel a long way to get their seaweed.
Exactly.
And I think I've seen, have you seen it? There's somebody who sells lamb that's been grazed on seaweed. Have you seen those at various shows and exhibitions?
I'm aware of it. I know that Simon, range of sea green, sells his seaweed to racehorses and farmers alike.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was reading how good it was for the colon.
That's right.
So what goes on down there? How can seaweed help that?
Well, it helps to clean out mucus attached to the colon, and it also feeds the friendly bacteria that's in the digestive system.
So we've got to look after those all the time, haven't we?
Absolutely, yes.
So, but it can help to rebalance things. What does that mean?
Well, our modern diet isn't particularly balanced in many ways. Seaweed is alkalising, and it's cleansing. It grabs hold of heavy metals and drags them out of the body. It also feeds good gut flora, so it's got a few different elements of it that actually help to rebalance the body. Unfortunately, if the body goes out of balance, it starts to desperately try to rebalance it. The body will never work against it. It will always do its best to help, to rebalance.
To heal itself.
Exactly, to heal itself. And seaweed gives the body back nutrients, and it alkalises it as well.
Yes, we're like a cabbage patch, aren't we?
Yes.
You need to be the right pH to assimilate the fertiliser. That's what we do on the farm. If the pH is wrong, it doesn't work properly. The manurial value won't come out. So it's quite amazing. Brilliant. So what's the rest of your... Have you got another life plan? What's the rest of your plan? How are you going to continue your crusade?
I'm still doing my public speaking, and I write for some magazines. I've got little articles that are in Prima and Cosmopolitan and Bella magazine. I get asked to write for journalists.
So real high level stuff.
No, not really. And I regularly write recipes for a Holistic Therapist magazine as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Food is my thing. I love food. That's why I love seaweed, because it's not an extracted vitamin or mineral tablet. It is a whole, complete food. So your body fully recognises it and absorbs it all. It's not, and it's very mineral dense, so it's not in high amounts. It's just gentle amounts of vitamins and minerals going into the body every day.
So is this something you can incorporate into your food somehow, or put into a smoothie? Or?
That's right. You can sprinkle it into food as granules, or you can use a fine powder into a smoothie. It's really great. Or take a capsule if you like, but I like sprinkling it on my food, put it in my smoothies.
Yeah, it's always the best way, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
That's what I tell people. I've rechristened my capsules pods because it's an essential fat.
Exactly.
If people think it's a capsule, they think, it's a supplement, I can take it or leave it. But you actually have to have it every day.
That's right. Yeah, it's just about a little bit of commitment, isn't it?
Yes, I know. I'm not having enough seaweed, so I've got to get more in.
Yep.
So I'll come along and see you in a minute.
Great.
And buy some, I think.
Good choice.
So, what else?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be giving a talk at the end of March for doctors, Dr. Tim Ridge's Natural Health Centre in Enfield, all about weight loss. So the whole talk's going to have an emphasis on why low-fat diets and calorie counting doesn't work, and then talking using a lot of the principles, the Western price principles of getting more healthy, good quality fats and grass-fed protein into the diet, and using seaweed as well to balance metabolism. The whole kind of picture is going to be, when you think about what the kind of information that people are being given about weight loss, it's actually quite shocking. It's criminal, in fact.
Well, yes, it results in this yo-yo affair, doesn't it? And
exactly.
Of course, I was talking to, I think, Brian about those sort of things, and so you have that problem, or any kind of problem, and the next thing, because you can't solve it, or it's not able to be solved, you get antidepressants.
Yes, exactly.
And it escalates.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we're all caught up in a vicious cycle. A lot of us know, and we're aware that we're caught up in a vicious cycle in the banking industry, in the financial industry, where it's designed to keep us caught up in credit and in debt. But we don't realise that the food industry is doing exactly the same thing by keeping us caught up in a vicious cycle of constantly craving sugar and refined carbohydrates and junk food.
Yeah.
That's how it's designed, and it's designed to keep coming back and buying it over and over again.
And so if there's one thing, this golden key to tell people about, what's the golden key that people might say, that's the reason I need to change. Have you worked that one out yet?
Yes. Have the best breakfast ever.
Have the best breakfast.
Yes.
I like that.
Have the best breakfast ever. And I've got a couple of tips for breakfast, because I really love my breakfast time, okay? And it's like my favourite part of the day. One of my breakfast is porridge, which I just soak my oats overnight, and then I cook it with a grated apple and some cinnamon. And then when it's cooked, I add some lovely double cream, preferably raw cream if I can get it, and some hemp seeds, some milled flax seeds, and some bee pollen. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Cinnamon, and that's usually pretty good. Right. And sometimes I might drizzle a hemp or a flaxseed oil in it as well, if I'm feeling really, if
you've got some of mine in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling really indulgent. And that's a really good breakfast, okay? Because when you cook an apple with the porridge, the apple's rich in pectin, and that's very good for grabbing hold of heavy metals and dragging them out of the body and helping us evacuate your bowels. If you're not evacuating your bowels twice a day, your body's not doing its cleansing processes. It's not really performing them effectively and optimally. So
what about bacon and egg?
Bacon and egg is fantastic as well. That's
so
the other breakfast
you need to buy
I
bacon
have.
from a real
proper
bacon, so you've got enough fat on the bacon to fry your egg.
That's exactly, yes. So bacon and egg is another one. If you can have bacon and egg for breakfast, that really does keep you going up until lunch, for sure.
And that's what the Stone Age people did, and they ran off and hunted their animal, ate it all, came home and made love all the afternoon.
Exactly.
So you can see how we've been de-skilled.
Yeah, exactly.
What do we do all the afternoon?
I'm still working on it with my boyfriend. I give him the breakfast, but it doesn't fulfil on the other bits all the time.
Shall we edit that bit out?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we will. Right.
So have a big breakfast, and if you get your breakfast right, you balance your blood sugar levels for the whole day, or pretty much most of the day, until you have a good lunch, and that is really key. Because if you can balance your blood sugar levels, it then has an impact on your productivity, your focus, your energy, and your rationality, like your moods. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been a low blood sugar.
Oh, I don't know.
Being in a low blood sugar moment where you've suddenly felt irritable and hysterical. But I have.
Have you?
And that's because I went out without any breakfast.
Right.
Yes.
So there we are. That's a good tip, isn't it?
It's not wise to go out with it. Breakfast is pretty important, and if you don't have time to make these ostentatious breakfasts, then make a smoothie.
Yeah. Well, I've done a quick linseed smoothie. Just buy some tropical fruit juice, put 2 spoonfuls of linseed meal and a spoonful of linseed oil in, stir that up and drink it.
Wow.
And if you haven't got time for anything else, that's a linseed quickie.
That's a lovely idea, but I wouldn't start the day with fruit juice. Right. It's the worst way, because it's high in fructose. It'll end up spiking your blood sugar levels. So you can do that, but I do that with the linseeds with a kind of a green juice.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
With cucumber and celery. Am I telling you off now? And a little bit of apple if you want it sweet. Or you can do it with some, I mean, I would put it with raw goat milk, personally.
No, I'm learning all the time.
It works for me. But fruit juice is not, if you start the day with fruit juice, and that is a recipe for disaster, because you'll end up just eating the wrong things later on in the day, guaranteed. So fruit juice, no matter what anyone says, it's not healthy for anyone, ever. Unless they're in a diabetic coma.
Maybe, has that got a little bit of goodness in it?
Not really, unless
the same thing, or the apple juice?
A little bit of apple juice if it's balanced out with greens like cucumber and celery, avocado. I like the avocado because you put that in with the juice and it slows down the release of fructose into the bloodstream. Honestly, that's where you're going wrong, Durwin, with your tropical fruit juice. We've found you out. But it's great with the linseeds, for sure. But I have linseeds in water all day and just drink the water. It's fantastic.
Yes,
Love it.
I noticed that. You had a few seeds in the bottom of your pot.
You've got all that lovely method of omega-3 in your water, hydrating. And, when you hydrated and you find you can just think clearer and you just feel better,
Yes, I've actually had quite a lot of accountants say that they're clearer thinking with their brain on that front.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Sure.
So we've done breakfast, and lunchtime it's not eat on the hoof, isn't it? You
Well,
grab a sandwich and eat in front of the computer. That's not good, is it?
I don't recommend that. No, it's not good. No. Try to have some.
So what do you think?
Protein and vegetables.
So what can you, if you're working in an office and the temptation is to go to Pret and buy something, what would be the best thing?
Oh, it's tough. Well, in Pret you can probably get a crayfish salad or a tuna niçoise salad, something like that. I mean, salads are okay in the summer, but in the winter you'd probably be looking at a soup or a stew.
Yeah, and then you get to the evening, and that's where people fall down, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So what do we do? What's the best thing to do?
Oh, it depends. It depends if you're the kind to go home and cook, and then you can obviously be organised and prepare things the day before, or have a big vat of stew or soup that you've made that you have in the fridge.
Yeah.
Or there's there's a
website. It's more protein, isn't it, you want, rather than carbohydrates?
Well, it is, yeah, when you go back in the evening. I like soups because they're very nourishing, they're very grounding.
Yeah, I make a lot of vegetable soup and I just mash it with my potato masher.
I approve.
Yeah. I've got 1 point. Right?
Yeah, great. I don't approve of the fruit juice, but I approve of the soups.
Great.
Soups are great. If you use the right stock cubes and you make your own bone broths, it's fantastic. It's very healing on the gut. It's easy on digestion as well because your body's not having to kind of break down lots of carbs, lots of grains, lots of sugars and things.
Yeah.
So it's very easy digestion and it's very nourishing. Very nourishing. You can add seaweed to it too.
Brilliant.
There you go.
Great. Well,
I think that's good actually. I think we've done quite a bit there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Charlotte, it's been great. It's great talking to you. It's
Thanks
funny,
very
isn't it?
much.
We're all doing our little bit
Yeah,
all around the place, aren't we? And we all need to band together in a great big army.
That's right.
And create this tidal wave.
Yes. Therefore, I think if you did a bag of ground linseed with sea greens, I think you would, you'd do very well.
What, sell it as a new product?
Absolutely. I think you'd do really well, yeah.
So this is a product development
talk.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, that's to be had with Simon, but I'm just putting the thought out there.
And we know what happens when we put thoughts out.
That's right. It's the power of suggestion.
Charlotte, it's been brilliant to meet you, and
thanks.
you so much for coming along and chatting.
My pleasure.
And maybe we'll just convince a few more people to make change.
Absolutely. I like to think it's more about inviting people to see the opportunity in it.
Yeah. What a good idea.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Charlotte. Well, there we are. That was the lovely Charlotte Palmer. What a lovely approach she had to all of that topic. And I love the idea that we invite people to see the opportunity for making change so as to improve their health. That was really lovely. Thank you very much, Charlotte, and I hope everybody enjoyed that.